so it was really hard trying to film this while I was doing it. I finally got a gimbal that face tracks, so that helps a lot. And once in a while I get a friend that comes over and films. So today's one of those days, and I just wanted to do an explanation video on what I've all been dealing with in the last 2 months since I got this motor from TLCT down in Maryland. It got shipped here, we put it in a couple days, we did the timing, we also did the rear main seal and a lot of other seals, but we skipped over the front main, which is, we did this seal, no, we did the seal behind this, so the actual front main seal, and then put the balance shaft on, which is behind this timing cover, but we never changed this. A lot of times I don't. If it looks good, we'll just put it back on. So we did a smoke test and we noticed there was a huge vacuum leak coming from that seal. So we replaced that. That was about a month ago. Through the last 8 weeks, we have swapped this intake manifold, and the one that's on the car currently. And I have had this intake manifold off for sure that I can remember 6 times in the last 8 weeks. And we've done the injectors, we did a carbon cleaning, and a lot of other things. And we've replaced the PCV valve and the valve going into the turbo inlet. We have replaced the throttle body. The map sensor is OEM from the dealership, crank sensor is OEM, a lot of the sensors are all OEM from the dealership. So we've replaced all that, and the purge valve, I've replaced it a couple times, but I finally put it back to a stock file. Thank you to Auto Tuner over here. And when we put it on a stock file, we noticed that it was pulling 25% fuel at idle. So that was the misfire sound that we were hearing. Almost just sounded like a Subaru. It ran great, and the fuel trim's cleaned up when you started to drive it, but when you were just cruising down the road, it was pulling 25%. So I wanted to look into it more before we started tuning it. So the purge valve outlet comes out of the purge valve here. Originally from factory, it routes underneath. Hold on one second. So here there's 2 different versions. And from factory comes out of the purge valve, just like this, goes underneath your intake manifold, and then one of the check valves goes to a port at the back of the intake manifold. So that will be this port on the back of the intake manifold. And then it also goes back up to the turbo inlet through this pipe here. And I was just doing some diagnosing. So I had a buddy put his hand right here and just cap both of them off, still leaving the one to the intake manifold, and it cleaned up the fuel trims. So thank you, Kyle, for helping me figure that out. On Friday night, it cleaned the fuel trims up completely. Saturday, we come down to the shop, we do the same exact thing we did Friday night. I wanted to stay here, but I had an appointment somewhere else. So I wanted to stay here and finish it. Even at 11:30 p.m., I was texting people, asking if they wanted to go down to the shop. I don't like coming down here when I'm alone late at night. It gets boring. So I came down here Saturday. We capped it off again. Did the same thing. And it did not clean up the fuel trims. It was still pulling 25% at idle. So we then replaced it with a different revision because, you know, anybody who owns the EA 888.1 or even the .2, there's revision D, revision G for the diverter valve, all types of different things. So this one has the check valve here on the intake manifold port where it plumbs in. So this one has a couple different check valves going this way to the turbo inlet and this way. So we replaced it with this, just trying different things, trying to figure it out. And eventually I talked to a few buddies of mine over in Thailand. Thank you, Omar. He said he had the same issue on a 2006 to 2008 GTI over there. And he informed me that we can just plumb to the turbo inlet directly from the purge valve. Block off the port at the back of the intake manifold. Some cars, this car has a 6.2 62 turbo on it, front mount intercooler. It's heavily modified. So for some reason, it's just got excessive fuel tank pressure, and it doesn't like it going back to the intake manifold, because you got to remember, when you have a mass airflow sensor plugged in, the car is adapting for the fuel going in here at the air filter. So if you have a valve in here, maybe it's faulty. Maybe the charcoal canister is bad. The charcoal canister in this car, you either have to drop the fuel tank. It's a lot more work than what I'm dealing with. So I decided to go the easy route here and just plumb it directly back to the purge valve to the turbo inlet. So when I did that on Saturday, Omar just said, you know, it's been a while, let's tune this car. So we gave it revision 1, and it had a little bit of turbo surge from like low RPM to mid-range. So we decided to lower the wastegate duty cycle in the mid-range, because the turbo obviously doesn't need it. I say it's a 6.2 62, but really it's an APR K04 with the bigger exhaust port runners. And when I originally put it on the car, I had it on my car for 2,800 miles, got bored, and sent it to my friend Nick Knight over at NM Turbo Co. I sent him, and he informed me that it was 58.8 millimeters. And to my knowledge, that is one of the biggest hybrids on an mk6 that I know. So just to be that guy, I said, let's see how big we can go. And we went to 63 millimeters, and it burned through the backing plate on the turbo. So we decided to go a little less. I ordered a new billet backing plate, and he went to 62-ish millimeters, and it has a 9+9 blade wheel. And so it spools 2,800 full boost, and sometimes the N75 just sends too much duty cycle, and it was turbo surging. So we finally got it running good, and now I will plug in Auto Tuner and walk you through the process on how that works. Let me finish up this purge valve, and we'll get right back with you. Okay, so I wanted to open the box and plug this in just because it has updates every single time you open it, and Auto Tuner is super nice. No subscription fee, no pay to update, anything like that. So we're just gonna plug this in here. All right. Not all cars are available through OBD. So it also does boot mode, but when you do boot mode, you're gonna need to run auxiliary power because it gets power through the OBD and the USB. So unplug the P3 gauge here. Get it plugged in. All right. Hopefully you guys got a good view of what's going on here. So when you open up Auto Tuner, it's always going to open up the latest vehicles that you've done. So as you can see, we do a lot of Volkswagens and Audis around here. So first day we ordered it. Actually, I should say the first day it was delivered. Before it was even here, we had customer cars outside. So awesome for the support. Thank you, everyone. If you're local to Wisconsin, I even have a lot of people come up from Illinois. So if you're local to the Fox Valley area, you know, Green Bay area in Wisconsin, message me, send me a private DM on either Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, and we'll get you on the schedule. I would love to help everyone. So here, Auto Tuner supports a lot of vehicles. Like, as you can see, when we first opened it up here, we'll go back and just show it again. We can do tractors, jet skis, ATVs, side-by-sides. So we have a Honda Talon. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's 1,000cc, and we're gonna be testing on that in a couple weeks. So it's winter time here. We don't have much cars coming in, so we're gonna break into the ATV world. All right, so you just find your vehicle here, scroll down, and it's not gonna match up exactly. So for my car, I just go under 2008, and then we're gonna do the TCU today. So let me grab the key and turn the key on for us here. Nice. Buffering, hold on. Okay, so when you look through like the instructions and things like that, it tells me to use a DQ 250-E, right? That's the box code for my transmission control module, but I'm just gonna show you quick. When I go to click on that, what happens? So we go into OBD as always, and always hit identify first. And when we do that, it tells me that the original base file is available on the server, but I've selected the wrong box code, and it tells you what it detected. So just go back and use the numbers that it tells you. Hit back again. And then we go to the box that it tells us to use. And then again, always hit verify or identify before you do anything, because if you're just reading it, it's not gonna hurt anything, but if you flash it, you can end up with a bricked ECU. Then you gotta open it up on a bench and deal with all of that. So, says it's available, says I'm detecting the right ECU. Alright, so we're gonna go under revision number 2. And while you're doing this, you always want to make sure that you verify down in the bottom corner that you have over 12 volts. If you don't have over 12 volts, don't even flash it. So you want 13, but depending on your charger, it may vary. All right, so we will get back to you when this finishes up here. It's really cold in the shop. As you can see, I'm shivering right now. So it's gonna take 3 to 6 minutes to do a flash. So we're gonna get back with you, and we're gonna kick the heater on quick. We'll pop back in when we get to 100% just to show you what happens, what I do to put the ECU to sleep so you can, properly flash a file. Okay, so even though I did the TCU, the screen tells me that I successfully flashed the ECU. So once that message pops up, you only have to turn the key off. I always just take it out, put the ECU entirely to sleep, count to 10. It's making some weird noises underneath the hood. ECU's going to sleep. So then, just an extra verification, turn the key on for like 5 seconds, turn it back to the off position, then you are all done. Then you can close everything out, shut everything down. Yes, Auto Tuner has the ability to tune and data log and read DTCs. So it's very nice for things like that. If we're doing a tune on a customer car for them, they can just data log directly from this cable, not have to plug in a different cable. For Volkswagen and Audi specifically, if it's like bigger than a factory turbo, I definitely always want to see them on VCDS because it's much more in depth. And then we're good to go. And we'll connect the data logger, disconnect the battery charger, and get rolling down the road and show you some clips of it driving. We disconnect the battery charger, and I forgot that I still haven't finished plumbing the purge valve. So we plumb the purge valve outlet directly to the turbo inlet on the car. And then this port on the back of the intake manifold is plugged off. If you want to kind of zoom in right here, you can see it through the intake. It's way back, right? My fingertip is on it. Yeah, you can't see. Anyway, it's down there. It's capped off. I can feel my finger on the cap. I don't know. Oh, there's the clamp. Yep, we're good. So now let's go inside the car and pull up VCDS because this is a stage 3 car, has a big turbo, so I want to really see some data, and we'll go for some test drives. All right, so we're gonna do the first startup after the tune, and we're not doing the ECU right now. We'll do those tonight, but we just revised the TCU a little bit, gave it some more crispier shifts, and lowered launch control because my original launch control was set to like, it would rev to 4,800 and then it's a boosted launch control, so it would vroom, boom, 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 and it would end up at like 3,200, but all right, so we'll open VCDS, get it connected here, and then we're gonna pull up these measuring blocks here, and actually we're just gonna start the car, and I know a couple of them by heart, so pull these up, make sure these look good before we leave. So what we're looking for on a data log when we tune a car, we're looking at injection timing, which is the injector MS. That one's actually, yep, injector MS. And then we're also looking at lambda controller. So if your tune is a little off, or there's something maybe wrong with the vehicle, like you have a boost leak or the mass airflow sensor is wrong, something like that, your lambda controller will be pulling or subtracting or adding fuel. So it will show once it gets up to temperature here. It's cold in the shop. It's Wisconsin. It's only 47 degrees in here. The car's been in here for a couple hours. So that the O2 sensor, it has a warmer, it has a preheater on it, and now that it's up to temperature, you're seeing it pull and add fuel there. Now it's pulling. So my rough estimate on like a long-term fuel trim, which this is not here, we'll pull up long-term and short-term fuel trims here. So long-term and short-term fuel trims, this is just at idle and partial throttle here, and you can see it's within 0.4%. So honestly, that's beautiful. If it needs a revision, it's going to be above 5. This short term up here is always going to bounce. Like, watch, I'll rev it up here. Crackle's beautiful. It's always going to bounce. So, and I have a couple of issues still with this car, but we're just tuning them out at this point. I'm sick of working on it. So we're going to go to McDonald's and get some lunch and cheap date today. And then after that, we will get back to data logging.
On here?
Yep. So we've been pretty rough on it. I'll insert a few clips of it, but we're just doing some normal drivability right now. You know, a tune is not just about wide open throttle. I say it all the time to my friend Kyle. I can train somebody how to tune wide open throttle in probably less than 10 minutes. It's very, very easy. But to make a car drive good, it's very, very difficult. So you guys can probably hear my hand controls. They like make a lot of noise. Don't be too worried about that, but it's driving pretty good. I didn't get a video of it because it was just in such a rush, but I did launch control this time. It's about 3,200, and we're still gonna lower it a little bit more because I want it to 60 foot. My car used to hit a 1.4 60 foot, so I want to try to replicate that again, and we'll see what it gets to. 3,200 with boost was still pretty good. It spun a lot, but I was able to pedal it and it liked it. Before I was getting on the highway, I did a revision since then, but I lifted in the middle of second because it was spinning. And when I lifted and went back into it, it was very laggy on building boost, and then I shifted into third and it ripped. So just fine tuning it a little bit, but if you go into it in second, this most power this car has ever made. So I'm making the wheelchair in the back fly around. And then as always, I didn't really put crackles on it until we got on to revision number 3, I think it was. So I finally put a little bit of crackles on it. Nothing crazy. And they're set on a 5-second timer, so they're not, you know, annoying and obnoxious when you're trying to drive home and stuff. If you put it in drive, it does not crackle at all. They are only in sport mode or manual mode.